Why did Satan try so hard to get Moses' body after he died? It is well known that the people of Israel loved Moses, especially at the end of his time as leader in life. But there came a time when God had to call his beloved prophet home, just like he had done with other great leaders before and after him. His leaving had such a big effect on his people that it took them a whole month to mourn. For many people, death means the end. It means that a person's work and sacrifices on earth are done. It means that another journey is about to start. But every journey that starts with death brings something else, something that shows how much the person was loved. Burial comes after death. So it should have happened to Moses, but it didn't. Why shouldn't Moses? Why was the death of Moses different? The answer can be found in Deuteronomium 34, verse 6. It says, "So Moses, the Lord's servant, died there in the land of Moab, just as the Lord had said. He was buried in the valley there, in the land of Moab." God is the only person in the Bible who buried Moses himself, but no one knows where Moses is buried to this day. According to the Bible, God then hid the tomb. How come? Why would God the Most High hide Moses' body? Satan wanted Moses' body because he was curious about it. He was interested because, as he does with everything else, he wanted to use it to get the people of God to worship idols. If the Israelites had known where Moses' body and grave were, they would have built a shrine there. People would still be going to that graveyard today. They would have put up monuments and turned the place into a place of business. It would have been a place where people would praise sin. It wouldn't have been about God at all, but about what Moses could do. That is what it really means to worship an idol. This is why the Lord put the tomb in a secret place. So important was hiding the tomb that it led to a fight between angels in the higher realm. In Jude chapter 9, we read about how the archangel Michael fought the devil for Moses' body. But why did Michael and Satan fight about Moses' body? The Bible doesn't say why, but people have come up with a number of ideas. The one we've already talked about is the most likely. People often worship the things that God made instead of God himself. Romans 1:25 says that people changed the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature instead of the Creator. Taking the absolute for the relative and the relative for the absolute is what idolatry really means. God had to hide Moses' body and grave from us so that people wouldn't be tempted to worship his dead body. Because of this, some people say that Moses never really died, but instead just walked up to heaven. We're not sure about that. All we know and will ever know is that after he climbed that mountain, his body was never found. As we just learned, Archangel Michael was one of the ways God kept Moses' body safe. But it's important to remember that when Archangel Michael argued with the devil about Moses' body, he didn't tell the devil he was wrong. Instead, he just said, "The Lord rebuke you." This is important. Even Michael, the archangel that God used to throw Satan out of heaven, didn't have the nerve to scold the person in charge of the realm of demons. He let God do all the scolding and condemning. In the Bible, the books of Daniel, Jude, and Revelation show that Michael, the archangel, is a fighter angel who fights against principalities and powers. Archangel means angel of the highest rank. Most angels in the Bible are described as messengers, but Michael is shown in all three books as fighting evil spirits and principalities, or standing up to them. This warrior is the one who won't take matters into his own hands and tell Satan to leave Moses' body alone. Instead, he told them, "The Lord rebuke you." The Lord is the one who scolds, even if it is the most important angel. This makes me think of the human tendency to curse and scold everyone who hurts us. Why is it so hard to let the Lord take care of things? The Bible's book of Jude tells the story of how Moses' body was hidden from Satan. To understand why the warrior, thought to be the archangel Michael, didn't rebuke Satan himself, but instead asked the Lord to do it, it's important to know what was going on at the time and what the spiritual meaning of the event was. Moses was a very important person in the Bible's history. He led the Israelites out of Egypt and was a key part of God's promise to his people. After 40 years of being lost in the desert, Moses was getting close to the end of his life. The Lord told him to go up Mount Nebo, where he would see the promised land one last time before he died. The Bible says that after Moses died, God put him to rest in a valley in the land of Moab. But it is still not clear why Moses' body was hidden from Satan. Some scholars think that Satan might have wanted to take over Moses' body to get more power or to get the Israelites to worship idols. But instead of fighting Satan directly, the warrior who was thought to be the archangel Michael used God's power by telling Satan, "The Lord rebuke you." This act shows that even the most powerful angels like Michael don't have natural control over Satan. Instead, their power comes from God alone, who is the only one who is truly in charge. By saying, "The Lord rebuke you," the warrior shows that he or she is very humble and respects the divine order and hierarchy that God has set up. We can learn a very important lesson from the warrior's choice to let God tell Satan off instead of doing it himself. It shows how we tend to take matters into our own hands, especially when someone hurts us. When someone hurts us, it's natural for us to want revenge and get even with them. But the Bible tells us over and over again to leave vengeance up to God and not to pay back evil with evil. When we decide to do things on our own, we risk falling into the same trap as Satan, who wanted to be more important than God and take his place. By trying to get our own revenge, we are basically playing God and putting ourselves in a position of judgment and punishment for which we are neither qualified nor able. Also, taking matters into our own hands often starts a cycle of violence and retaliation. It keeps a never-ending cycle of hatred and division going, with no chance of real healing or reconciliation. By letting God be the final judge, we recognize his wisdom and perfect justice, and we trust that he will bring about a fair solution when it is time. Let the Lord take care of getting even takes a lot of humility, faith, and trust in God's power. It means giving up our need for justice right away and trusting God's timing and plan. It requires us to think about forgiveness, reconciliation, and love, even when wrongdoing is happening. This choice is hard because it goes against our natural instincts, but it is a way to more peace, healing, and spiritual growth in the long run. To sum up, why did Satan fight for Moses' body? Because Satan wanted the people to be able to see Moses' dead body and be tempted to worship his bones instead of God. And why did God send the archangel Michael to protect Moses' body and the secret of his grave? To keep his children from worshiping the things that he made instead of him. We're glad you watched. We hope that today you learned something new about the Bible. For those familiar with these tales, your insights are always welcome. And if you're interested in more stories of giants from biblical times, give a shout out. Thanks for joining me on this exploration of the larger-than-life figures from the past. See you soon!